I think this is definitely one of my favorite parts of the testing process is exploratory testing. It's really a point. I mean, there's lots of points where you can do this, but it feels like one of the more creative aspects of the QA profession, since it's sort of, in the title, explore. You get to explore around an area and be able to try things out. Obviously, it depends on whether or not it's like guided or self-guided exploratory testing, but it is one of my favorites to be able to go into an area of a feature or application or something and really just get to try out different things to see what can be uncovered, or go through a specific flow and see what stands out as things that seem off. Um, I think the getting to be able to explore an application, especially in like the early days of starting a project, is this sort of, well, again, it depends on how far along the project was, versus um like when you're coming into the project itself. Like if this is an established product, then coming in and getting to explore like all the space to see how it works and what happens when you do different things, like that's really just like unlocking the floodgates of just trying different things. But if you're coming into like a new project, then there's very little room to really explore, and it's a lot more about like setting up how things are going to be done. But in terms of more established applications that you're coming into new, you really get to dig in and work those muscles that sometimes begin to atrophy if you're not really getting to utilize exploratory testing, which, uh, depending on the project, I think can be something that is more regularly encouraged. But again, it's difficult to it can be difficult to be prompted to do exploratory. It's much more of like a default of like, well, if there isn't anything specific to work on, then exploratory is sort of the default that you fall back on to see how things are working and what's going on. So you can really use that time to check things out. If you've listed out, well, one approach is you can like look at the your bug tracking software, whether that's Jira or something else. It's like you can then go through and look where have issues been, and then use that to inform where you're going to then apply your uh, exploratory testing focus. Um, but really, it's pretty open to dig around and like try things out and see how battle tested things are and how well they handle different weird states, especially if you have a lot more control over like network calls and um other ways to like inject different data or other things in to see how well the systems handle it. And it can be pretty fun to try to break things to inform and let people know, hey, it looks like this area is not as well, um, not as well refined or not as well handling issues as like other areas of the application that you're working in. But like exploratory in reality is something that can be applied everywhere. It doesn't have to specifically be in the uh tech space or anything. Like you can apply exploration and everything, like cooking. Like that's something that very easily you can apply the thoughts around exploratory testing, trying out different seasonings, different intensities of the seasoning. You can take established recipes and then tweak different things on them and see what comes out, and using that to build up your capacity as like uh, I mean, not specifically a chef, but like being able to build up a catalog of different uh things you've made that you can then call back on and or use to then modify other things that you might make in the future. So it's a well something that's very beneficial to practice the idea of exploration, which I guess also falls into like play, not necessarily worrying about the um potential failures. I mean, it can be hard, especially in cooking with like failures, because then it's like, was the failure something where it now made the food inedible, or was the failure just, hey, it's a little salty, but add something else to it to mellow it out, and then next time use less salt. So there's varying degrees of like failure state, at least in cooking. But in terms of overall, it's like failure states have varying degrees of whether or not they, I don't know, quote unquote, break the thing that you're working in. So you don't necessarily need to be worried about failing. But again, it's heavily dependent on what exactly the failure is. Like, did I break it and now it no longer works, or did I break it and now it just doesn't work as well? I mean, that's going to be dependent on whatever the thing is that you're working in.